Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Friday, the 30th of March. Indian Foreign Minister calls on Japanese Prime Minister in Tokyo to boost bilateral ties. Nepal enters new era after successful conclusion of election, says Nepalese President. And Christians across India observe Good Friday. And now for all the details. Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj on Friday met Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo. She was on a three-day visit to Japan aimed at reviewing the entire gamut of bilateral relations.
Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj called on Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo on Friday. Swaraj arrived in Japan on Wednesday on a three-day visit aimed at reviewing that entire gamut of bilateral relations. Swaraj and Abe discussed the huge potential for growth of India-Japan relations. Ties between India and Japan have blossomed as Abe and his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi increasingly see eye to eye in countering growing Chinese assertiveness across Asia. Japanese investment into India has surged in areas ranging from automotives to infrastructure in the remote northeast, making Tokyo its third largest foreign direct investor.
Indian Space Research Organisation or ISRO successfully launched a communication satellite into space on Thursday from southern Andhra Pradesh province. The satellite will be hovering over the moon along with establishing high bandwidth connectivity to remote places of India.
Indian Space Research Organisation successfully launched a communication satellite into space from Satish Dhawan Space Centre in the country's spaceport Sriharikota on Thursday. The GSL vehicle, having a lifespan of 10 years, took off for its 12th flight with an indigenous cryogenic upper stage from the Space Centre located in southern Andhra Pradesh province. A key feature of the satellite is providing mobile communication to India throughout multi-beam coverage facility. The satellite has a number of missions which include establishing high bandwidth connectivity to remote places of India.
This year is going to be another high-profile year for ISRO. In next 9 months, we are going to have 10 missions of dispersed, diversified applications like space science, earth observations, communications, navigation. All the areas we are going to have missions in this year.
The launch vehicle demonstrated the capability of GSLV as an operational launcher. The launch of the communication satellite is a very significant milestone as it will help in the enhancement of new technologies in future.
Moving on, rivers, once the lifeline of Gilgit-Baltistan, have now become channels terminating deadly diseases in the illegally occupied region. With no sewage treatment plant operational in the region, all the waste straight away emulsifies into its rivers. Drinking water scarcity and diseases are now becoming major concerns in that region.
With some of the world's highest mountains and largest glaciers, Gilgit-Baltistan has always remained solely dependent on natural resources to feed its population of nearly 1.8 million. However, the illegally occupied region is now plagued with problems related to the supply of clean drinking water, resulting in high number of deaths and diseases among the locals. Lack of sewage treatment plants has left no place for all the waste in the region but to straight away emulsify into the rivers.
गिलगित शहर में ये सूरत है। तकरीबन गिलगित शहर की जो आबादी है उससे 50% से ज़्यादा आबादी जो है वो दरिया का वही गंदा पानी इस्तेमाल करती है जो हमारे घरों से निकल के दरिया में दाखिल होता है और वही दरिया का पानी मोटर के ज़रिए, वाटर पंप के ज़रिए हमें सप्लाई किया जाता है बग़ैर किसी क्या नाम है फिल्ट्रेशन के।
No measures have been taken by the authorities to contain the unabated pollution in the water bodies from where drinking water is sourced in Gilgit-Baltistan. Locals allege Pakistan, which annexed Gilgit-Baltistan illegally more than 6 decades, has been working relentlessly to give enough space to China for their setup of CPEC projects, which have denuded the ecology of the region.
In news from Afghanistan, protesters demanding peace in Afghanistan's Helmand province on Thursday embarked on a hunger strike after the terror group Taliban and Afghan government rejected their demands for a ceasefire. This comes a day after the Taliban demanded a ceasefire on the part of the Afghan government as a precondition in response to the peace calls by the protesters in Helmand.
Members of the Helmand Peace Rally on Thursday embarked on a hunger strike after the terror group Taliban and the Afghan government rejected their demands for a ceasefire. The protesters warned they would continue their hunger strike if their demands are not met by the government and the Taliban. This comes a day after the Taliban demanded a ceasefire on the part of the Afghan government and the complete withdrawal of foreign forces from Helmand province's Shorbagh base and Kandahar airport in Afghanistan. The sit-in protest in Helmand was launched on Monday after the Ayub Khan Stadium attack, which killed 16 people and wounded many. The women in the protest have set a sit-in camp alongside the men's camp at the stadium in Lashkargah city, which is the first of its kind movement in Helmand for peace.
Moving on to news from Nepal, Nepal's President Devi Bhandari has said that our country has ushered into a new era of political stability and economic development after holding the local, provincial and federal polls successfully in the country. President Bhandari made the remarks while addressing her first joint meeting in federal Nepal's parliament.
Nepalese President Devi Bhandari on Thursday said that Nepal has ushered into a new era of political stability and economic development following successful conduction of the three-tier local, provincial and federal polls. While making her first address to a joint meeting of the parliament on Thursday, President Bhandari said the significant phase of the constitution implementation has been overflowing the parliamentary and provincial elections. Bhandari even underlined the need of cooperation with the neighboring countries for the prosperity and development of Nepal during her address. The incumbent president has been re-elected as the head of state for the second time, securing nearly 3/4 of the total vote strength of the Electoral College on March 14 this year. She was first elected the head of the state in 2015. Prior to her election, she was the vice chairman of CPN-UML party, the post to which she was elected twice in 2009 and 2014.
Scores of devotees in India's southern Rameshwaram town offered prayers and danced to drum beats to celebrate Panguni Uthiram festival on Friday. As part of the celebrations, devotees also get their bodies pierced to show their devotion for Lord Muruga, the Hindu god of war.
The Panguni Uthiram festival dedicated to Lord Muruga was celebrated with devotional fervour in India's southern Tamil Nadu province on Friday. Scores of devotees and pilgrims from distant places made a beeline to offer their prayers on the auspicious occasion which falls on the full moon day of the spring season. A bizarre ritual associated with this festival is the bamboo structure being carried to the temple by the pilgrims who pierce their bodies and even faces with rods as mark of penance.
முக்கிய கடமையாக இருக்கிறது. அனைத்து பக்தர்களும் விரதம் இருந்து பங்குத்தர திருவிழாவில் பால் காவடி தேர்காவடி போன்றவற்றை ஏற்றால் சகலவிதமான பாவங்கள் தோஷங்கள் நிவர்த்தியாகி முருகனுடைய அருளுக்கு பாத்திரமாவார் என்பது திட்டம்.
According to belief, on the day of Panguni Uthiram Day, the marriages of Hindu gods and goddesses Parvati and Parameshwara and their son Muruga with Devyani took place. Devotees consider the concept of piercing the body parts with rods as another mode of paying respects to Lord Muruga.
Christians across India marked Good Friday by offering prayers at churches and remembering the life of Jesus Christ. Good Friday is a religious event which commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death.
Christians in parts of India's western Mumbai city mark Good Friday by offering prayers at churches and remembering the life of Jesus Christ. According to Christian theology, Good Friday, also called Holy Friday, Great Friday or Black Friday, is a religious event observed primarily by Christians commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death. For Christians all over the world, Good Friday commemorates the act that brought salvation to all who believe in Jesus Christ.
गुड फ्राइडे यानी कि जो जीसस क्राइस्ट है उनको सूली पे चढ़ाया गया था आज की तारीख में, और उसी हिसाब से हम लोग गुड फ्राइडे मनाते हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने जो सैक्रिफाइस दिया है, उनके बलिदान जो हमारे लिए लोगों के लिए दिया है, जो इंसानियत के लिए दिया है, उस हिसाब से आज गुड फ्राइडे मनाया जाता है.
Meanwhile, similar scenes were witnessed in India's western Banaji city, where devotees offered special prayers marking the occasion. Good Friday is the culmination of the Lent for the Roman Catholics as well as the Holy Week, which is observed on Palm Sunday. It takes place 2 days before the Easter Sunday that is being celebrated this year on April 1 throughout the world.
A modern rehabilitation centre for the Himalayan black bear in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province is getting a revamp. Wildlife officials said once the project gets completed, the bear cubs in caged enclosures will be able to roam around freely and do various kinds of activities in the open.
A modern rehabilitation centre for the Himalayan black bear in the Dachigam National Park in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province is being upgraded. The upgradation process in this high-tech rehabilitation centre is being done to provide more facilities to the Himalayan black bear cubs. Wildlife officials said the bears are presently in cage enclosures, and once the project gets completed, they will be able to roam around and do other kinds of activities in the open.
इन कोलैबोरेशन वाइल्ड लाइफ एसओएस एंड वाइल्ड लाइफ डिपार्टमेंट, जे.एंड.के वाइल्ड लाइफ डिपार्टमेंट, तो हम दोनों मिलकर कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ये जितने भी अबंडन बेयर्स हैं इनको एक अच्छा वो वाइल्ड एनवायरनमेंट प्रोवाइड करें, ताकि ये पालतू तरीके से इनको हम रखने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं. सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू गिव देम द नेचुरल एनवायरनमेंट.
पहले पूल इनके लिए तैयार किया है जो जिसमें ये अपना एंजॉय कर सके, और जैसा जितनी गर्मी होती है उनको ज़्यादा डिस्टर्ब होता है तो वैसे पानी में ये जाते हैं, फिर आराम रिलैक्स करते हैं सर. और सबसे बड़ी बात जो यहाँ पे ड्रम्स बनाए हमने, तो इसमें कुछ फ्रूट्स डालते हैं या एप्पल डालते हैं या हनी इसमें डालते हैं या गुड़ डालते हैं.
The Dachigam Wildlife Sanctuary boasts of nearly a score of other mammal species such as the hangul, Himalayan brown bear, Himalayan mammoth and leopards.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Indian Foreign Minister calls on Japanese Prime Minister in Tokyo to further boost bilateral ties. Nepal enters new era after successful conclusion of elections, says Nepalese President. And Christians across India observe Good Friday. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time next week. Have a great weekend. Good night.